tallest grass, the next group will eat away some of the medium-height grass, until finally it is almost completely eaten, and the herds move on. This means each group sticks to their own kind with only a small overlap in their distributions. The grasses of the plains have the highest protein content in the whole of the Serengeti, as well as being high in calcium. It is unclear how the wildebeest know which way to go, but it is generally believed that their journey is dictated primarily by their response to the weather. They follow the rains and the growth of new grass. While there is no scientific proof of it, some experts believe that the animals react to lightning and thunderstorms in the distance. It has even been suggested that wildebeest can locate rain more than 50 kilometers away. The Great Migration in January, February and March. Around January each year, the migration will be finishing a southwards trek, moving along the eastern edge of the Serengeti and into the Ngorongoro Conservation Area. Here the plains are rich in nutritious grass, providing the herds with the best conditions for raising their newborn calves. Although there is no real beginning or end to this migratory circuit, other than birth and death, it seems reasonable to call the wildebeest's birthing season the start of the migration. Around late January or February, the herds occupy the short grass plains that spread over the lower northern slopes of the Ngorongoro Crater highlands and around Old Uvige. Some 400,000 calves are born here within a period of 2 to 3 weeks, some 8,000 new calves every day. The abundance of vulnerable young calves means the surrounding predators also spring into action, hunting with ease due to the sheer numbers of wildebeest. Those interested in witnessing calving and the drama of big cats on the hunt should look to Acilia's migration camps in the southern Serengeti, which provide direct access, Olokira, Kaimando and Ubuntu. The Great Migration in April and May. After bearing their young in February and March, around April the wildebeest herds begin to drift northwest towards the fresher grass of the central Serengeti, drawing with them thousands of zebra and smaller groups of antelope. By May, columns of wildebeest stretch for several kilometers as the animals start to congregate by the Moryukopts, close to Dunia Camp, of the few camps in the Serengeti that offers migration viewing at this time of year. Mating season begins towards the end of May and male wildebeest battle head-to-head. Throughout the rut, the journey continues at leisure, with the wildebeest, zebra and gazelle grazing as they go along. Gradually, the movement gathers momentum and the wildebeest start to mass in the Serengeti's western corridor. At this time of year, Ubuntu Migration Camp, true to its name, will have relocated to follow the migration and provide access to watch the wildebeest cross the Grimiti River. The herds form in huge numbers along the pools and channels of the river, which they have to cross in order to continue on their journey. This may not be as spectacular as the famous Mara crossings, but there are still enough wildebeest to provide the Grimiti crocs with a veritable feast. It is worth noting that May is low season at Ubuntu. Safaris at this time offer great value, since there are relatively low numbers of tourists in the Serengeti, yet the wildlife viewings remain excellent. The Great Migration in June and July. During June, the dry season starts, with large concentrations of wildebeest in the western Serengeti and on the southern banks of the Grimiti River. Each migrating animal must face the challenge of crossing the crocodile-infested river, the first of many daunting and tense river encounters. As June moves into July, the hundreds of thousands of wildebeest and zebra continue to head north along the western edge of the park towards an even riskier barrier, the Mara River in the north of the Serengeti. These river crossings are arguably one of the most exciting wildlife events on Earth. They usually start at the onset of high season in July, but timing all depends on nature. During July, the herds will typically be found in the northern Serengeti, where access is provided by Acilia's 3 mobile migration camps as well as Sayari Camp, for those looking to indulge just a little bit more. Later in July, those animals that have successfully made it across the Mara River will also be found in Kenya's Masai Mara, where guests of Rikero can watch river crossings right from the main deck of the camp. At this time, daily river crossings can be seen at the Mara and Talek rivers, both often central to incredible scenes. The Great Migration in August, September and October. By August, the herds have faced the challenge of crossing the Mara River and are spread throughout the Masai Mara's northern region, with many remaining in the northern Serengeti. In years when the river is in full flow, the panic and confusion at the crossings, combined with waiting predators and surging currents, can cause massive loss of life. But, even in years of relatively gently flowing water, the crocs take their toll, not to mention the lions and other large predators that patrol the banks, ready to ambush any wildebeest that make it to the other side. There is no single crossing. At some spots, there are just a few individuals, while others see a mass of animals moving without break for hours. By September to October, the main chaos has ended and the migrating columns have gradually moved eastwards. However, the wildebeest will face the heavy waters of the Mara River once more as they prepare to cross once again for their return journey southwards. The Great Migration in November and December. After the East African short rains in late October and early November, the wildebeest moved down from Kenya and into the eastern limits of the Serengeti past Namiri Plains, an area known for outstanding cheetah sightings. By December, they are spread throughout the eastern and southern reaches. In the early months of the new year, the grasses in the deep south of the Serengeti are lush with rain. This draws the herds, not only of wildebeest, but also hundreds of thousands of zebra and other plains animals. The cycle continues as the calving season starts once again. What makes a million wildebeest get up and move at once? What is the sense that triggers them to muster the energy to begin a 1,000-kilometer trek, to somehow know that it's the right thing to do? It's mid-March in the northern Tanzania, and thousands of animals are happily milling on the rolling plains of the Serengeti. The female wildebeest have just dropped their calves in a beautiful display of new life, as the youngsters stumble and stagger to their feet and are up and running within minutes. There's still plenty of food to go around, and life must seem pretty idyllic for the wildebeest. And yet, one, or two, or maybe a few hundred wildebeest sense something in the air. For some reason, a few animals decide to start moving. They just get up and go, and the rest begins to follow. Just like that, the largest terrestrial mammal movement of animals on Earth has begun. The Great Wildebeest Migration. It is a trek, a round trip, of some 1,000 kilometers, over two countries, Tanzania and Kenya, across plains where predators, lion, cheetah and leopard, wait to pick them off, over hills, and through rivers with crocodiles waiting, battling disease, starvation, thirst and fatigue, with around 250,000 animals perishing along the way. Despite all this turmoil ahead, without fail, they go. Why do they do it? Why, when most wildebeest in Africa are non-migratory, do the animals of the Mara, Serengeti ecosystems risk it all in one mad trip? No scientist or naturalist has yet been able to answer this question conclusively. But there are some theories. Studies using aerial photography show a remarkable level of organization in the structure of the wildebeest herds as they start moving. The groups display a wavy front that snakes out like the head of a swarm. This amazing structure cannot be apparent to each individual wildebeest, which means that there is some degree of decision-making that is happening between the animals. Is there some sort of leadership being displayed, maybe a form of communication we don't yet know about? Some scientists believe that the wildebeest are motivated by the chemistry of the grass. The herds are attracted to higher levels of phosphorus and nitrogen, which changes in response to the rains. So perhaps the wildebeest are merely following their taste. It might simply be instinct. Fossil evidence suggests that wildebeest have been roaming the plains of East Africa for over 1 million years. In the same way their body tells them to run when a lion appears out of the grass, maybe the instinct to migrate has been coded into the DNA of the animals over many years of evolution. Perhaps they just know, and so they just go. Whatever the reason, over 1.5 million animals begin a journey that will undoubtedly cause death to many of their own, but will also bring life to many more animals as they follow the rains in search of green nutrient-rich fields that will sustain the next generation. And so they charge onwards. It's mid-July, and the herds have been trekking across the duvet plains of the Serengeti for over 3 months. The animals are tired, hungry, and thousands have been lost to predators, disease and fatigue. By this point in the journey, the wildebeest are probably wondering what they have done, and why on earth they should keep going. But before it gets any easier, it's going to get harder. Before they can reach the lush Masai Mara grasslands, they must overcome one last obstacle, the rivers. The throngs of animals amass in their thousands on the banks of the Great Grimiti and Mara rivers, and they wait. They build up their courage, energy, and motivation. It seems as if they will never